want to make this announcement before we start the shir, okay? We should just know for sure. I am not a Navi. I never had Nevuah in my life. And I'm probably not going to have. Mashiach had kommen. But the beater up to sich schneller, will do tshuva, and then maybe the Mashiach but I have no idea what it is. But what does it feel like to be a Navi? When you learn Torah, and of course, where are you going to find the Hagdara, the Tiur of Nevuah? How does it feel to be a Navi? It's interesting. The best source for Nevuah that I know is the Rambam. I feel like the Rambam felt obligated to explain Nevuah and the way I understand it because nobody else will. The Rambam explains Nevuah at length. In the Meir Nevuah in Achei Sheni, beginning like Perek Lamed Aleph till the end of Perek Sheni into Perek Shlishi. The Rambam wrote in Akdama of Meir Nevuah that he's planning to write Sefer on Nevuah. That's the name of the Yeshrim. And some people say the Sefer Nevuah is part of the Meir Nevuah. The Rambam explains Nevuah at length, in the Akdama Pirush HaMishnayos. The features from the Rabbi Yossi of the Nivel Perek over there. Go around. The Rambam explains Nevuah at length in the beginning of the Shemena Prachim and the Akdama Pirkei Avos. The Rambam explains Nevuah at length, if I'm not mistaken, in the Yegeres Teimon. And of course, the Rambam explains Nevuah in Hilchos Seder Torah. In other words, the Rambam explains Nevuah many times at length. The Akdama Pirush HaMishnayos is a big arichas. The Akdama to the whole Shas. The Akdama for Pirkei Avos, it's a very big arichas. It could be just also the beginning of Chelik of Sanhedrin, but I'm not sure about that. The Yegeres Teimon is also a big discussion. The Rambam explains Nevuah kama v'kama pa'am. And again, Lani is daiti, it's just my personal humble opinion, my impoverished opinion, is that Rambam is explaining Nevuah as often as it does because he don't think anybody else could. But what does it feel like to be a Navi? What does it feel like to be a Navi? It's important to appreciate the Edelkeit of Navi. You'll understand soon why I'm bringing up Nevuah. You'll understand, as the class proceeds, you'll understand why I'm bringing up Nevuah. But what does it feel like to be a Nevuah? So I'm going to start in a very weird way. It's in a very, very weird way, okay? In a really weird way. But it's close to us. Ein bisschen kann man das verstehen, okay? Chassidim know that when a chassid goes into a Rebbe Yechidus, it's a meeting of two neshamas, right? And the lashon which is brought, it's a meeting of nefesh benefesh, ruach beruach, neshama beneshama, chaya bechaya, yechid bechid. When a chassid and a Rebbe meet in Yechidus, the nefesh of the chassid and the nefesh of the Rebbe meet, the ruach of the neshama, the ruach of the nefesh meet, the neshama of the chassid, the neshama of the Rebbe meet, the chaya of the chassid, the chaya of the Rebbe meet, and the yechid of the chassid, the yechid of the Rebbe meet. That's how it's described.
Where's it?
Huh?
Where's it written?
The Sichas Frierdiker Rebbe. And now that you're asking, I think. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? So we know what nefesh is. Nefesh has to do with the guf, with the levushim, with machshava dibramais. We know what the ruach is. Ruach bepasha has to do with the midas shabalev, the emotions in a person's heart. And we know what neshama is. Neshama is the madrega of sechel, bina, verstehen. So when a person was into the Rebbe Yechidus, the nefesh of the chassid, the nefesh of the Rebbe are meeting. How? First, the Rebbe has a guf, and in the guf of the Rebbe there's a gil of his nefesh. The chassid has a guf, and the gil of the chassid, the gil of his nefesh. So the meeting of the nefesh of the chassid, the nefesh of the Rebbe is through the guf. Two physical people in the same physical space, they're sharing something. So there's a meeting of nefesh benefesh through the guf. And the same is with ruach. Ruach is the midas, the emotions. But the emotions happen through the islapshus in the guf. So the midas which are the guf of the chassid and the midas, the guf of the Rebbe meet through the guf. So the guf of the chassid, the guf of the Rebbe bring together the two madregas of ruach. And the same is true in the madregas of neshama. Because neshama is nemoyach, is in bina. Nishma shadai tavini, but it's in the maimara. For those who do not know, the sugi of nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida, the Rebbe Rashab spoke about right before he passed away.
Yisham's also good?
Yeah, it's Mayach. Mayach Lev covered. The Maimorim, the last two Maimorim, the Maimir of Purim, the Maimir before, I don't know what it is, it's the Teruma, Tetzava, the Yisisa. Two Maimorim. The first Maimir he speaks, Be'ikir, Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama, and Chaya, Yechid is Bekitzer. And the second Maimir, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama is Bekitzer, and Chaya, Yechid is Varichas. Tov Reish Pei. So in Tov Shin Lamed, there was 50 years since the Rebbe said those Maimorim, so the Rebbe said the same in Yonim. Two Maimorim, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chayim. The Rebbe's signet is very different, but it's Kayachol based on the Maimorim of the Rebbe Rashab. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chayim. You also have it a lot in Eter, but that's a sugya shleiman, Naran, Chay. It's explained in this. It's the Maimor right before the last Maimor of the Rebbe Rashab. It's in Echkeres Bris, Pashat Kisisa, which was right after Purim. Purim was Thursday night. Purim do two Maimorim. The second Maimor is the famous Maimor Eishes Goyim HaMalek. The first Maimor of Purim and the Maimor of the Shabbos before, which was the Shabbos Tetzavet, is this sugya. I mean, if I'm off by a week, but this is the sugya. So the nefesh of the chassid and the nefesh of the Rebbe meet through the goof of the chassid of the Rebbe. So there's two blockages between the nefesh and the nefesh. There's two blockages between the ruach and the ruach. There's two blockages between the neshama and the neshama. So therefore, I've said about the Rebbe, the goof is not my master, but the chassid is edeler. And the chassid is more prepared for yechidus, and the chassid is more mukusha to the Rebbe. So the meeting of the nefesh and the ruach and the ruach and the neshama is smoother. Yeah. What about chaya and chaya? There's no goof. So the chaya and the chaya meet directly. Now, beklal, that means a chassid has no idea what's happening. Why? He's not in tune with it. Unless he's a chassid, like Michal Lapotzker, or Zalman Zezmir, or a Hillel Paracher, chassidim that are mamish in touch with their own neshama, so they're margish the touching of chaya and chaya. And the same is true also yechid and yechid. You follow so far? Now,
was anyone in touch with yechid? Was anyone in touch with yechid?
I mean, in terms of chassidim, I think so. But it's hard to answer that question. You must understand. The reality is that the greatness of a Rebbe is defined by the greatness of his chassidim. But that's not the truth. If there's a bigger chassid, you find out more who the Rebbe is, because the Rebbe is an Inyan Atzmi. So yeah, the Alter Rebbe had chassidim or big Bala Madreg. Now wait, now listen. You go to the oil. Go to the oil. Unfortunately, the Metzias Hadvarim is that the meaning of a guf and a guf you don't have. So the meaning of nefesh and nefesh is not happening. The meaning of ruach and ruach is not happening. The meaning of the neshama is not happening. Why? The Rebbe is not giving you $1. He's not showing you how he feels. He's not teaching you in Varseichel. But the meetings of chaya and the meetings of yechida do happen.
Wait, what about why can the first three meet without the goof?
Because the way they work in the Rechas
We need to be able to go.
For you, for sure.
Whoa.
But the person, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I don't mean you as opposed to me. I mean you as opposed to the Rebbe.
Yeah.
So the way the goof, the nefesh and ruach and the shama, the Rebbe touches you have a goof and he is a goof. That's why it says in the minor lashon. The Rebbe mentions it in the Hagah, in the Maimer of Hayshavas Magan Tashni Aleph, that it says in the minor lashon neshama and neshama ne'atzeles. Neshama atzeles is the madreg of chaya. Neshama just means the neshama of the chassid and the neshama of the Rebbe meet on a level where the goof is not my master. So the nefesh ruach neshama meetings are either not happening at all, or we have no heritage happening. Chaya and yechida, they're happening. That's the way it works, okay? And the meeting of chaya and chaya is called atzilus.
That's not for the right?
Huh?
That's
No, wherever you meet a tzaddik, me and you, my chaya and your chaya, touching a madrega of atzilus. Maybe we don't feel it, but there's no goof. Because there's no goof, the meeting of this madrega of the neshama, this madrega of the neshama is without a slapshus. It's not neshama goes into goof, and the two goofs meet, and through the goof the two neshamas meet. This is direct. You follow what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what it means. That's the concept.
So can two chayas meet without being in the same room?
I don't know these rules. I understand these things very little. What I understand, I can tell you. What I don't understand, I can't tell you. I don't know. When a person thinks about another person, it says Machshava Mayelas and so on. I don't know these things. So now listen. Just wait. Hermachos, listen to me carefully, okay? So, the Middle Rebbe has a Maimer of Ishtatchos. The Middle has a Maimer of Ishtatchos. And the Maimer of Ishtatchos, he gives 5 reasons why you should go to oil, okay? The first 3 are Musa. There isn't Pashat in Halacha. Maskin liyei mamise, he said it's for tshuva, practical things. The last 2 are mystical. The last 2 are Kabbalistic. Beklolis. The 4th one is that when you go to the seeing of a tzaddik, your neshama, the tzaddik's neshama touch. You listening to me? When you go to the seeing of a tzaddik, your neshama, the tzaddik's neshama touch. And because your neshama, the tzaddik's neshama touch, you take something away from the tzaddik because the neshama, the tzaddik touched you. And the tzaddik is alakus, there's no Allah mizveh, so the melee has an effect on you. What's the 5th madrega? You listening or you tuned out? What's the 5th madrega? That you go to the neshama of a tzaddik and the 2 neshamas meet and you take away a hasage. You take away a Torah. But you have to understand how that works. First, the neshama meets the neshama on a madrega of oir, which is outside of the guf. It's outside of the seichel. It's higher than the seichel. Then, if you're sensitive enough and you're a keli muksher, you can take away from that meeting a Torah. But the seichel doesn't come before the ruach hakodesh. The seichel doesn't come before the meeting of the neshama. It comes after the meeting of the neshama. Poshet yeh chidusha Torah, chidusha Torah b'pashtus. Chidusha Torah.
Like an idea, like of what you should do.
I never had that experience. I can't tell you. Chidusha Torah, chidusha Torah, anaya maimer. Chidusha Torah.
It's in the Chida from the Chaya.
Oh, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Chaya is enough for me. Now listen. I want you to I just gave you a break about neshamas meeting. Let's go back to Nevuah for a moment, okay? When you learn Nevuah in Rambam, the Rambam gives you huge hagdomes about what a Navi. The Rebbe has gewaldige sichas. I want you to understand that the Rebbe touched on sugyas that no Yod Yisrael ever touched. The Rebbe taught and explained, mostly for Mashiach. The way the Rebbe explained what Mashiach is, nobody ever explained it like this. He explained the Rambam, he explained it. I brought it down, but I can't verstehen. The Rebbe sichas on Nevuah are oishe gewöhnlich. That's what it means because they're good chedushim. Because it makes Nevuah real. You understand what's going on. You understand the process. The Rebbe gets this to verstehen in a goldige way. And of course, the Rebbe is based very heavily on the Rambam because the Rambam is the one who explains these inyanim very clearly. The Rambam talks about Nevuah a lot more than talks about Mashiach. So when the Rambam talks about Nevuah, he tells you many things about the prerequisites to becoming a Navi. You know what the prerequisite means? The conditions that you have to have before. If you want to become a Navi, you have to be, number 1, a healthy person, physically healthy and psychologically healthy. Number 2, you have to be push-it normal. There's no correlate between being a Meshuggah and being a Navi. There's a correlate between a Meshuggah and being a Meshuggah. But Nevi'im are categorically, deeply, profoundly normal people.
Define normal.
What they call Meshuggah when they're giving the
Yeah.
But the normal means that they're mi'udav and abrius. They get along with people. They know how to live in the world. They're put together in such a way where they don't, when they walk in the street, they don't trip over their own feet. All the parts of themselves are together. Then he says, a Navi is a person who's a Chochem Watzim. A Chochem Watzim and Teda. Lahad Lav Avi Avdolis. He's a Chochem and other Chochemas as well. And on top of that, the Rambam writes, a Navi is a person who never once in his entire life gave in to his Yetzer Hara. The Rambam describes the Tnoim Kedumim for Nevuah as being a Rebbe. That's right, what it is. So great and so perfect. Pashat and what you call in our culture, Aveda B'Ke'achat. And one of the most important things that Rambam talks about a lot is Chochem. A Tipish is not becoming a Navi. A Chochem Gadol B'Yezer. But not that Tzemach Tzedek Etamal Gezog. Tzemach Tzedek said once, it's impossible to have a Ruach HaKodesh unless you're a God. So somebody said to the Tzemach Tzedek, what about the Bishal V'lednikir? At the same time, the Tzemach Tzedek, there was in Russia a Polish tzaddik who was a Balmoifis Adir, a Baruch HaKodesh Adir, with a Geist and a Moritz, nicht get Lenin. So somebody said, so Tzemach Tzedek said, that to be a Baruch HaKodesh, to be a big God. So somebody said, what about the V'lednikir? And the Tzemach Tzedek's answer was, the V'lednikir is a Goen. Well, you think he's a child? Tzemach Tzedek said, the V'lednikir is a Goen. Put it in Teda. Now, so think about this. To be a Navi, there's an enormous amount of preparation. And the preparation happens, listen, on the levels of Nefesh, on the levels of Ruach, on the levels of Neshama, on the levels of a person. You mezachach your levushim, you mezachach your midas, you mezachach your moyach, you mezachach your goof. Your whole life is lived the precious, b'kedusha, b'tara, but whatever the lashonos you want to use. But the life of a Navi, as a person, is very pristine, it's very whole, it's very pristine, it's very deep, it's very sophisticated, it's very intelligent, it's very full, yeah? And then it gets a nevuah. Getting a nevuah is like getting atzilus. That's what it is. It's like the meeting of Chaya and Chaya. Now, from the nevuah, the Navi is going to have a hasaga. From the nevuah, the Navi is going to have a Torah. But you need to understand how that works. The preparation of the Navi is B'mata L'baylo, yeah? He prepares his nefesh, he prepares his ruach, he prepares his neshama. As a person, he develops his physical faculties, he develops his emotional faculties, he develops his senses, he develops his mind, yeah? The nevuah happens, first he gets an oir, and from that oir he's going to have a hasagah. So the preparations of the Navi are normal, Beseder Malmata Lamayla. You understand what I'm saying? Nevuah is not the next step. Nevuah is a snoitetutz. It's a flash. The Rambam describes Nevuah the way Chassidus describes Chochmah. A flash. It's so sweet to read. Nagdam of the Rambam writes that Nevuah is like lightning. He says, imagine having lightning one after the next. If you have lightning one after the next, there could be so much lightning that it seems like it's day. Says the Rambam, that was the madreg of Nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu. But it wasn't day, it was a bunch of flashes. But it was so many flashes in succession that it was as if the light is shining non-stop. So Nevuah is you prepare, then it comes to you from the top. So in Mahus HaAdam, understand it like the difference between the meetings of Nefesh, and Ruach, and Neshama, which happens through the Guf. Happens B'mata L'maylo. Chaya and Yechid is the other way around. If a person experiences a gili of Chaya, first he has the oyer, then he's going to have the hasaga, if there is one. Now we know from the Rambam that Nevuah is madreges. We know from the Rambam. Many Nevi'im experienced Nevuah, and there was no message. There was no hasaga, there was just Eidol Ki. Many Nevi'im experienced Nevuah, and there was a hasaga, but it was only for them. It was not to give out to other people. The Nevi'im who were told by the Eibush to go tell Yid and Kach V'Kach were the greatest Nevi'im. And they were by and large the fewest. It wasn't a lot of people. You understand? You follow what I'm saying? If you could understand the description I just gave you for Nevuah, you can understand a little bit what Atzilus is. Atzilus is a world of Nevuah. Atzilus has Kalim. Atzilus has Nefesh, that's Nehi. Atzilus has Ruach, that's Chagas. Atzilus has Neshama, that's Chabad. But Atzilus is a world of Gilead and Seif. So think of Atzilus as the guy who's done all the preparation. He did it all. All the achonas that a Navi Nizi has. And he was Zayach to the Gil and Nevuah. But there's a skip over here. There's something happening that's missing. What's missing? The preparation of the preparation. The way the light hits Atzilus is from the top down. First there's a light, and from the light comes a Hasaga. The thing about Atzilus is that that's a permanent state. Atzilus is not a flash. Atzilus is a constant state of kalim that are prepared, and an oil which is resting on those kalim in a way that's skipping a step. It's not you go from seichel to oil. No, you're from oil to seichel. Where does the oil come from? There comes the Eibishter. And the oil doesn't come from the Eibishter through a keli. The oil from the Eibishter doesn't come from the Eibishter through a goof. It's direct. Just like you understand the meaning of one chaya and another chaya is not happening to the guf. It's a direct meaning of neshama to neshama because there's no guf to correspond to the madrega of chaya. That's why you have to understand what it means that Ein Sof is resting on Atzilus. And Ein Sof rests on Atzilus not because higher than Atzilus has a guf, and Atzilus has a guf, and through the guf of this world and through the guf of this world, they're meeting. This is a meeting of light and light. You with me? Understand? Yeah. So the light which comes into Atzilus comes from the world higher than Atzilus direct. There's no keli.
It's the opposite of a Navi.
It's exactly the same thing as a
It
Navi.
was first comes everything. It was the prep. Okay.
The Navi first is a flash.
No, the Navi's life is the preparation.
I understand.
And then comes the light. So Atzilus says kelim, that's the preparation. And then comes the earth, it's exactly the same thing.
So like Moshe.
The nafkamin is the madrega of oil. The nafkamin is how high the light is. But it's the same mashal. That first you have oil, then you have asaga. But the oil and the asaga which comes after it is resting on a person who has so much asaga from before. But the asaga that he has from before is based on his nefesh, ruach, and neshama. The asaga which comes from the oil is based on the madrega of chaya. It's exactly the same thing. What you have to understand is that the oil that came from the source into Atzilus is not stopping through Kalim, it's going direct. Oil.
It
What's
goes into the game. That's the prep. You know what you're saying?
the prep is the Kalim. The prep is the Kalim. The oil comes from hard Atzilus into Atzilus direct. So wait, so listen. So the Rebbe says, if you understand that concept, you understand that what Atzilus is getting is exactly the same thing as what's before Atzilus. If before Atzilus is a guf, and Atzilus has a guf, and they meet through the guf, so you can start talking about the steps of how they approach each other. But there's no guf over there. There's no keli over there. It's just oil. The oil that's higher than Atzilus in a state of Helam comes into Atzilus in a state of Gilui, and it happens directly. Directly. There's nothing in between. That's a mashal to understand how Ein Sof comes into Atzilus. Okay, questions or comments, but I don't have a lot of time.
Where did the Kalim come
Go ahead. What's your first name? Shnei Chaim. Go ahead.
With regards to Nevuah, I've heard that there was a period where the Chachamim were mispatel Nevuah. Is that something which still doesn't stand? You're saying how there was Nevuah later on, by the time it's Tzemach Tzedek and this.
Okay, this is not a time to have this conversation. But the Rebbe holds, in the Sechet Chelik Yudal Shoftim, that it's not allowed to be said up here halacha that it could be a hefsek in Nevuah. You know why? Because Hakil b'dei Shamayim, chutz b'yidei Shamayim. Nevuah is about people, not about the Eibshter. Huh?
Isn't there a yum?
That what?
Tilt the Bach or something?
That everyone was written with Ruach HaKodesh. Every Sefer. But the Nevuah obviously is much less. But yeah, there's always been Nevi'im. Go ahead.
Where did the Kalim from Atzilus come from? If they're the Kalim before the race or something.
How Kalim emerged from Ein Sof and how Ein Sof rests is a different conversation. They're there. Okay, there's a description in Ayin Beis in the next Chelik someplace.
Prep. That's it.
I don't know if you answered this already, but why is it coming in lightning?
Okay, I'm not.
That's
I'm
what
sorry.
you
It's a Maimed Amuzgid. Young man, if you want to listen to these shurim, you got to stop doing everything else. I need 110% of you. You can't listen halfway. It's just not going to work. It's just not going to work.
Does the concept of Hamshacha in Atzilus similar to the idea of Moshe? Moshe had a concept.
Why Hamshach? It's Gilui.
Gilui. Is it anything to do with the same way? Moshe was
So
a perfect Keli more than any other Nevi'im.
It's l'chayda more than Moshe Rabbeinu. But let's leave it alone.
Saying with what we're speaking here about, that it's penius, that they're a perfect fit. That's why it's able to.
It's l'chayda more than Moshe Rabbeinu. But let's leave it alone. Look in the Maimed, page Yudalid, third paragraph, third line. Let's read it inside. Okay? In the shir of yesterday, we read a grand total of 2.5 lines. And the nakud of the shir is that we're trying to find out what is the nimshal for the mashal of that phrase. Keiches Temimim Be'etzem. And in order to answer that question, the Rebbe gives us a dissertation, a little pilpul, just a few lines, on Atzilus. I want to read these lines with you, okay? And I just gave you a Hakdama. I gave you a Hakdama because I want you to explain these lines. If the Hakdama that I just gave you and the lines we're about to read don't meet, that was a waste of time. You understand? Look. To explain what it means, Keiches Temimim Be'etzem in Atzilus. So the Rebbe says, we know that Atzilus, who Gilei Ahelem Erin Sefer Maitzah. Atzilus is the revelation from what's hidden in Sefer Maitzah. Now, what's the key idea here? What's the key idea here? That the oil comes from Ein Sefer to Atzilus, and is in Atzilus before the Keli. It's not goes into the Keli, and the Keli defines it by the terms of the Keli, and then you have the oil name. The oil comes into Atzilus, and you have the oil directly. Like the madrige of neshama and neshama itself, a light is touching a light. The light from Ein Seif is touching the light of itself direct.
Then it goes into the killer.
I don't know.
What? You don't know? Is that the whole vart?
Would you just continue to read?
Is that the whole vart though?
The whole vart is that you have to pay attention.
What are of
So what's the Arv Atzilus? Where's the Arv Atzilus before Iron Safe? Arv means the Arv. Where's the Arv Atzilus?
Atzilus the person. So this person has been working his whole life on himself.
Okay, so the Kalim are the Pep, not the.
Okay.
So the
That's
Kalim
what
are
I'm
going Kalim now.
Okay, no, wait. In the Caleb, there's also oil.
Predated and pre-primitive Arv.
Yeah.
That's a new thing. I never said that.
Yeah. I gave you a much from a person.
That doesn't
Meaning
mean
a person.
Yeah, but-
And I spoke about the oil being the air directly. Says the Rebbe, Shezeu Inyan Atzilus, that's the concept of Atzilus. Now the Rebbe is speaking the word Atzilus Milmayla Lamata, from the top down. Oil Ein Soif comes from higher than Atzilus into Atzilus and fills Atzilus exactly as it was before. The oil which comes in from higher does it to Atzilus, touches Atzilus without having to change by Keli. It's oil touching oil. Like Chaya touching Chaya. V'zeu inyan Atzilus, the meaning of Atzilus. Miloshen v'atzalti min haruach asher alach. I will emanate, I will shine from the spirit which is upon you, which is the madrega of Moshe Rabbeinu. Shehu afrashas ha'ara, a trace of light comes from Moshe Rabbeinu and raising the Ayim's Canaan. Right? The Rebbe has many sichas on this. This is in the Kutateirim Ba'aleischa Barichas. It's a whole beautiful Shein Chassidus Maaseh. It's one of the biggest sources of the whole idea of a Rebbe. Is it's this story with Moshe Rabbeinu that all the other Nevi'im can only become Nevi'im through Moshe Rabbeinu. Because all the Ashbas that are there, Sai Begashbi, Sai Ruchnis, Sai Nevu, and Sai Bas has to come through Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, but then the family in the mid-9s came. These 70 men were big Bali Madrege. And the Eibishter gave them Nevuah. How? The Eibishter took from the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, and that light shone on them. But the diak is the word V'atzalti. It shines from Moshe Rabbeinu on them directly. So the Rebbe said, there's nothing new here. First there's Moshe Rabbeinu. Then there's Ayin Canaan. Okay? If you want to use Asis. First there's Ein Seif higher than Atzilus. And then there's Ein Seif in Atzilus. And the Ein Seif which is higher than Atzilus touches Ein Seif in Atzilus without a Keli. It's the same. Now, it's different. Why? Because higher than Atzilus is called Helam. Atzilus is called Gilui. Or to say it in different words, higher than Atzilus is called Etzem Avayir. Atzilus is called Ha'aras Ha'ir. But there's no translate, there's no keli in between. It's an oil of a higher level coming to an oil of a lower level. There's no keli. It's oil and oil. It's a higher oil and a lower oil. Oil which is in a state of helam to an oil which is in a state of gilui, but there's no keli in between. It's light touching light directly. Says the Rebbe, Shuafrashas ha'ara. It is separating a light. Why? Because the madreg of Moshe Rabbeinu is oil, which is a mashal for Ein Seif, which is higher than Atzilus. And the madreg of the oil of the Nevi'im, which is a mashal of the Ein Seif in Atzilus, is very, very far apart. Moshe Rabbeinu's oil is touching their oil. It's a huge change from the way the Moshe Rabbeinu had it, but there's nothing new. There's nothing new. If the oil happens only through a keli, that would be new because the keli would change it. But this is the oil touching oil directly. So it's the same oil, but then it's come from a level of Helam to a level of Gilui. Ukamei, for example, Atzilus Ruche Shel Moshe Al Ayin Askenim. The emanation, the spirit of Moshe Rabbeinu. If you want to explain it in Chassidish terms, this is a meaning of Chaya and Chaya. Moshe Rabbeinu's Chai is on a much higher madrega than the Chai of the Shivim Zkenim, because the Shivim Zkenim are nebach only in the Shamas of Atzilus, and Moshe Rabbeinu is the madrega of Ma'ayin Libasar. Moshe Rabbeinu is higher than Atzilus, but the meaning of Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama and their neshama as it relates to Nevuah doesn't happen in a way that's connected not to Moshe Rabbeinu's guf and not to their guf. It's a meaning of Oid and direct. Now, from that Oid is going to be a Hasaga. When it comes down to Hasaga, he's going to scream right away. It goes into the brain. But that happens second. It's not what happens first. What happens first is a meeting of Oid and Oid. Cook innovating. Says the Rebbe, Ein zeh mehusacher. The substance of the Oid that Moshe Rabbeinu has, and the substance of the Oid that the Ayin, the Kenim are receiving is not a different substance, a different echos. Sharei Hashpah tzarich liyas ayidei Moshe. The Hashpah comes through Moshe Rabbeinu. Hari mashe netzel alas Kenim, what later shines from Moshe Rabbeinu onto the Kenim, zehu ruchei shel Moshe tchil. It's the spirit of Moshe direct from the light of Moshe to the light of Shivim Kenim. It's a meeting of Eid and Eid. Now, when you're talking about the Shamas of Atzilus, it's Nevuah, yeah? We're talking about lower Neshamas, we may be called Ruach HaKodesh or some other term. But anytime there's a meeting of Chaya and Chaya, it's the same idea. It's a higher Chaya and a lower Chaya. But because there's no Keli to translate it, it's not considered a different Mahus. It's not considered a different substance. It's considered the same thing being delivered to a different world. The marshal for this, I think, is Nevuah. Because Nevuah is a taste. Atzilus is much higher than Nevuah. Nevuah is Netzach v'Heidav Atzilus. There's all kinds of Kabbalah fancy words. But the idea that Nevuah is that you're getting Eid Ein Seif. And from the Eid Ein Seif, you have a Hasaga. In that order, first Eid Ein Seif, then Hasaga. Not first Hasaga and then Eid Ein Seif. That's how Atzilus is. That's what the world of Atzilus is about. Atzilus is Eid Ein Seif. From the Eid Ein Seif, there's Eid Hasagas. How many Hasagas could there be in one Eid Ein Seif? Ein Seif. But it starts first with Eid, then with Hasaga. You understand? So when it comes from Moshe Rabbeinu, the Shivim Kenim, what Moshe Rabbeinu has, and what they has, obviously Moshe is a much higher madrege, but what Moshe is giving them is the same as what Moshe has. Because it's not being changed in a categorical way, because there's no Keli. And the word for change is Chiddush. His chachas. And the word for the same is Ha'ara, Gilead Helam. So Atzilus, yesterday I gave you a class about Atzilus. And what did I explain to you about Atzilus? That Atzilus is Gilead Ein Seif. See, here we're reading what it looks like, what it feels like, what the experience is. Gilead Ein Seif doesn't mean that it's Mislabish and Kalim. Gilead Ein Seif means that it's higher than Kalim. And you are a Kali to receive an Eid without a Kali. The Eid of Atzilus is being touched by the Eid of Ein Seif, and that's the Gilead of Ein Seif and Atzilus. If I may use it, says the Chaya of Atzilus is being touched by the Chaya of Ein Seif, and as a result of this, there's a Gilead of Ein Seif and Atzilus. Now the Gilead of Ein Seif and Atzilus is less than the Gilead of Ein Seif and Kesed, but it's not Muhasacher. It's the same thing, just been brought down to the next level. Like Moshe and the Ayin Kenim. That's the mashal the Rebbe brings. And that's Taka mashal of Nevuah. Okay, weiter. Shayikol Tchila b'Moshe. First it was included in Moshe Rabbeinu. V'nimshach me'helam al agili b'vad. V'cholo. It was brought from a hidden state to a revealed way. Hidden state means that the oil was so high that the Ayin Kenim couldn't feel it. Revealed means that the oil is lower, the Ayin Kenim can feel it. But the oil isn't changed because it comes to the Ayin Kenim, because the Ayin Kenim are not taking it with their Kalim. The Ayin Kenim are taking it with their oil.
When you say that makes Gila means it's Chachma, right?
Gila means that they get it.
Chachma, meaning, he said Chayav itself means Chayav Ein Seif, whatever the opposite. There it leads to Gila. In the mashal, it's like leading to Chachma, Chiddush Torah, right?
The Chiddush Torah is second. This is light.
Chaya, light. Then
Right.
you know what?
Don't worry about the then.
You said that it's Gila.
I did say, but I don't want to let you derail this class because you want to learn everything when you stand on one foot. There is a hasaga that comes after, but it comes after. That's what makes it.
What's the Gila then? What's the Gila in the mashal?
It's Eid Ein Seif.
In the mashal.
Yeah, Eid Ein Seif.
So in the nimshal, whatever.
The mashal is, imagine the Chassidim would go into a Rebbe and they were so in touch with the Onei Shabbat that when they stood in the Rebbe's presence, They felt the Rebbe not through their guf.
So Gilui to Gilui.
Neshama to neshama.
I mean, Chai to Chai, let's say.
That's right.
And then what?
There's no end then.
But only in the mashal isn't then what?
There's a and then in the mashal. There's an and then in the nimshal. I don't want to let you go there. I want to stick to this piece. Leave it alone.
Patience.
It had to be changed to get to them, though, no? If it was too high for them before, how are they getting it now?
They prepared themselves, and the Eibishter brought Moshe Rabbeinu closer to them. But the change in him and the change in them is not considered yesh meyayin. It's not considered Hashem changed Moshe Rabbeinu completely, or I changed them completely. It was still only Oyer and Oyer. Helam to Gil.
You're saying one is higher, one is lower?
Yeah, of course, one is much higher.
But
One is Ein Safe, one is Atzilus.
how is the other one lower then? If it's the same thing, going into another thing. From the beginning's point, how is it going? Oops.
Not all neshamas are the same. You understand that? Yeah? If two neshamas could touch each other without a goof, that's a very direct meeting. They don't have to be the same to have that direct meeting. But it's a direct meeting, even though they're different. Please, Cheder, it's 6 lines from the end. I want to learn something. All I do is talk. 7 lines from the end. The same is true Atzilus. You should know she'eni is Chachas. When the oil of Atzilus comes from higher to Atzilus, into Atzilus, it's not new, because Atzilus is not getting it after it goes into the Kalim of Atzilus. That would be his Chachas. Atzilus is getting it as that oil is ain't safe. That's what makes Atzilus special. Atzilus the world with Kalim. But Atzilus the word with Kalim, where the natural level is Chaya and Chaya. Imagine being a human being who meets other human beings, and the level of my neshama, which is not in my guf, Chaya, and the level of your neshama, which is not in your guf, Chaya, touch each other and reveal to one another bepashtas. It's hard to understand what that is, but if that were to happen, you'd know everything I'm thinking and everything I'm feeling without coming down to my brain, without coming down to my heart, without coming down to my levushim, because you can experience it, the right word of the derega of oyer. That's Atzilus. Atzilus is experiencing Ein Safe without the Ein Safe changing because of the Kalim of Atzilus. It's meeting the oyer of Atzilus.
Oh, they write down everything in the thing.
Says the Rebbe, she'ene is chachus, dov not is chachus. Kamei Bria. Bria is a chiddush. Why? Bria also gets some Atzilus. But Bria gets Atzilus through the Keli. And the Keli has to change Atzilus into Bria. Says the Rebbe, shu is chachus yesh me'ayin. The world of Bria, compared to the world of Atzilus, when Atzilus is mashpia to Bria, the Keli of Atzilus is mashpia to the Keli of Bria. Not the oida of Atzilus is mashpia to the Bria. To say it in other words, the oidas of Atzilus that come into Bria are only the madregas of Nefesh, and Ruach, and Neshama, Chaya, and Yechida, Behelim. And because it's Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama in Atzilus, it's in a Keli, when it goes from the Kelim of Atzilus and the Kelim of Bria, because this is a goof, and this is a goof, the transmission from one to the next is a Yivas Chach. It's changed. It's changed so much. The fancy difference between Atzilus and Bria is that Atzilus is called Mehus and Bria is called Metzias. In Atzilus you know the Ein Seif of the Torah, and in Bria you know only the Seichel HaTorah, not the Ein Seif of the Torah. And that's considered a Shin HaMehus. But Atzilus, compared to higher than Atzilus, Atzilus is Ein Seif in a state of Gili. Higher than Atzilus is Ein Seif in a state of Helam. And when you go from Helam to Gili and you're talking about Oid, it's not considered Chach, it's only considered Gili Helam. 1 minute, look inside. Machon can Atzilus v'chulus, look inside. V'zehu, this is the pshat to Atzilus alakus mamish. Atzilus is a world, right? Alakus is Ein Seif. Ein Seif is infinite. Ein Seif is Be'ein HaMoed. Atzilus is a world with kalim, with a body. And nevertheless, in Atzilus, Ein Seif is revealed. How could a world hold Ein Seif? And the answer is because that world has an Eid of its own. And in the world of Atzilus, the Eid is so precise that it touches the oyer of the Ein Seif directly. So on the one hand, Atzilus is a world with guf, with kalim. On the other hand, Atzilus is a place where Ein Seif is revealed in its mahus. The Inyan Holocaust, the Eidus of Atzilus, the godliness of the lights of Atzilus, he bechinis is pashas me'etzem alakavacholu. It's an expression of godliness which is higher than Atzilus. Okay, but when it comes from higher than Atzilus to Atzilus, it remains oyer. It remains like Chaya. And therefore, in Atzilus, it's still a Lakus. And he says, V'hainu. You're not going to say that the Gila of Elikus and Atzilus is the same as the Gila of Elikus and Kesef, or to say it in the Machon. You're not going to say that the Gila of Elikus and the Ayin Canaan is the same as the Gila of Elikus and Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe is much higher Madrege. It's only a trace of a light which is coming from higher than Atzilus into Atzilus. But at the same time, the emergence of Ein Sof from higher than Atzilus to Atzilus, whatever it was before, it continues to be now. So El Mabri is very smart. But El Mabri is smart is first Keli and then Ed. El Matzilus is smart, but El Matzilus is smart first Ed and then Keli. It's a whole nother experience. And therefore Atzilus is Gila help from Ein Sof. Which is what last night's class was about. Last night's class, I repeated the same class that I gave you the week before. Atzilus is Gila Yelakus. And Gila Yelakus is very important because the Kavanah Sabri is Sof Kosov, there should be Gila Yelakus down here as well. Call it whatever you want. Ruach HaKodesh, Nevuah, Ein Sof. Okay, but in Atzilus is always that way. What's the problem? Look at the next words. But on another page, in another book, we read exactly the opposite of what we just said. We just said that whatever Eid is higher than Atzilus is Eid in Atzilus, because Neshama and Atzilus, it's the Chai of Ein Sof. And the Chai of Atzilus mean directly, but in a different mind, it's fakert. How come? We moving my to pasuk in Tanakh. It's a Chochm, which was the beginning of Atzilus, emerges from Ein Sof Yesh Meyayin. So the Rebbe Rashab saying we have a steer within Psukim, right? The pasuk of Moshe Rabbeinu describes Atzilus as Gilei, and the pasuk in Iyov describes Atzilus as Yesh Meyayin. So which is it? That's the kasha. This was yesterday's class. Rabbi Yossi. If you were here yesterday, I told you learned all this in the Samach Vav in the morning.
Sorry, yes.
Right, Chochmi beginnes Yesh. V'nim zum Ayin, the Ketzer beginnes Yesh Me'ayin. Chochmi from Ein Sof is quantum separated. It doesn't happen from closeness. Ein Sof higher than Atzilus. Ein Sof and Atzilus fakert, they meet each other directly. Ein Sof higher than Chochma, and Chochma only could meet each other when one stops and becomes hidden, and then there's the room for the second. Shazel in Timotze, and Mitzia means Yesh Me'ayin. So the Rebbe is asking a Pashta Kasha. It's a simple question. Is Atzilus Gilei Hel, but it says Yesh Me'ayin? And the steer is some sukkah. That's the kasha. Questions or comments?
Why do you have to write a pond if it's meaning so perfectly and you see everything as inside? You just said.
Because you are not perfect.
Yeah, but he already knows what you're thinking.
Yeah, but you have to know what you're thinking. That's why after you write it, you tear it up.
No, I'm talking about you give to I'm talking about in Yechidus, not by Dayel. By Yechidus, why do they still write a pond?
For the same reason.
Why?
Because there's nefesh and ruach and neshama also.
Yeah, but even,
there's 5 meetings.
Yeah, but you're shining.
Huh?
So the Rebbe still sees that in your guf, through the guf. The Rebbe still sees the 3 levels.
There's 2 meetings, 2 people at the meeting, not 1.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to do your part.
And why do you have to write if the Rebbe sees everything?
Because you have a goof.
So the Rebbe only sees the first 2 parts?
The Rebbe sees whatever he sees. It's not your business. You need to present yourself to the Rebbe as best you can.
Yeah, you prepare, but you have to write it down.
Because that's part of the preparation.
What did you say about the fact that he sees that it's like a... Yeah, trying.
The story, the guy gave the wrong envelope and then the Rebbe...
It's an even mices. This morning I was teaching the girls, the mice Shabbos. He sent, Michal Apotke sent some Tzedek HaPad, an empty piece of paper. And he warned the Rashbats not to open it. When he came to Lubavitch, Tzedek woke him up in the middle of the night to bring him the pigeon. He took one look at it, there was a blank piece of paper. Hostam Galein, you read it. But there was a piece of paper. Okay.